think, marketing is like the most beautiful blend of just like creativity and business. And I love both of those things. And am always trying to learn, man, and figure out like what's next, what is, happening right now that we need to focus on. And what are the things we don't need to focus on, anymore.
Welcome to the Lead In Podcast, where we dive deep into genuine stories of leaders who've seized control of their journey. This podcast is brought to you by Lead Hub, your growth partner for the trades. And now, let me kick it over to our guy, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome to the Lead In Podcast. I got my man. We don't know if he's a thinker of all marketing, branding, or if he's a poet in the meantime, or he does music shows on the weekend. We haven't decided yet. My man Dennis, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Austin. Thanks for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it.
I just say you're fit. Your fit is always fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I try, man. So we got some cold weather here today. So threw on the flannel and the beanie. Looks like I'm about to go chop down a forest, but it's all good, dude. I'm a man of many talents. I'm a Renaissance man. I do it all. So
I think what's interesting is I just start working with people, start vibing with people. My fiance's like, well, you met him. What do you know? I don't really know much, so it's like, we just, guys, we just get to go. And so I want to spend this time, getting to know you before you came here and what you do. Tell us about, where you grew up, where you started, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, man. So, originally from Houston, so grew up there and eventually moved out to San Antonio to go to college, and super fortunate, during my time in college, I just met an incredible professor who really gave me an opportunity to start my career as like a reporter right out of school. And so I ended up doing that for about 7 years until I really transitioned into kind of the marketing and agency space. So, while I was at the paper, I'd started like a nonprofit for young professionals 32 and under. I was kind of in that phase where I was getting out of, kind of going out all the time with friends, and was really looking for like-minded individuals who were passionate about their career and, were looking to make an impact. Right. And so through that, I met a lot of great people as I built the board. I met my wife. She was one of the first board members, some really close friends that I have still to this day. And one of my friends on the board, she had worked at a local agency and was on the San Antonio Spurs account, and she was moving to New York, and they were looking for somebody to kind of take over. And she asked me if I'd be interested. And so took her up on the offer because, I was a newspaper journalist, right? And so at the time, you kind of see writing on the wall. It's like, there wasn't a great trajectory there, wasn't great pay, to be honest. Didn't have a ton of benefits at the time. I was looking for, kind of a career change where my skills could be like transferable. I was big on research, big on writing, all this. And so it was a natural like transition into the agency world. And, first account I got to work on, at an agency was the Spurs, which was amazing. And so we also got to work on their, they had a hockey team at the time, the Rampage, and a WNBA team. So getting to work on all those. So just, jumped right into that world. And, from there got to really just spread my wings into different areas, right? A little bit of creative, really started honing in on digital, at that time. So this was back in, I want to say 2000 and like 10, 11, something like that. And so, it was still kind of the early stages of, digital marketing in a lot of ways, right? Social was still trying to figure out how they were going to merchandise their platforms. Google was still, the main player on search. And, then all these DSPs started, popping out to where, you could, purchase on these, different platforms. So really got to help build up an internal digital side of the agency, right? Because they were always focused on traditional. So really honed in on that. And, through kind of building up that, it gave me an opportunity to go to another agency here in town with some of the most incredible people who've been around for 50 plus years, and kind of got to do the same thing there, really help on the digital side, build that up, and we became an award-winning development shop, and creative and all that, and so which ultimately led me here to Lead Hub. And I love the story on how I got here. Is a very kind of beautiful story in the sense that at my first agency, I worked with this young copywriter and just mentored him and, helped him out. And, we were, kind of had each other to bounce off ideas. And eventually, I went my way, he went his way. But all these years later, ironically, his father was one of Lead Hub's business coaches. And, they were in a process of recruiting somebody for the role I'm currently in right now. And, it was all through that relationship that I started 10-15 years ago, that I didn't think was going to turn into such an opportunity like it was. So it was just a beautiful thing to be able to get recommended for a job by someone that you helped out, and never knew that it would turn into kind of what it did. So then Lead Hub recruited me like 18 months ago or so, and joined the team. And since then we've been able to really number one, grow the team. So I think when I started we had about 25 folks. We're up to about 35 now, and grow our services. We've also always were looked at as a digital marketing agency, right? And we've really worked to kind of shed that title and really let people know we're a full service marketing agency, right? Like, yeah, we can own everything on the digital side, but if you're looking for some help on the traditional side and branding, just strategy overall, we can bring that to you as an agency as well. And so that's kind of how I landed here. Some personal stuff about me, man. Like, people always joke, are you in a band, or, are you, a painter or something? And no, I'm not. I can't paint, and I'm musically declined, but I love music. So, that's one thing. I am a huge golfer also. Shot my best round of my life like 2 weeks ago, dude. I shot at
Yeah.
86, which I know is,
What?
yeah, it's nothing like
No, it's
crazy, right?
great. No, it's great.
But yeah, I shot an 86, dude. And I've been trying to break 90 for like 4 years, because I really like gone and dedicated myself to try to get better at golf. And it's such a frustrating sport, dude, because it's like I've played sports my whole life, and it seems like this is the only sport that is taking
Dude,
me like this long to even get remotely good at. So
dude,
yeah,
there's this guy, there's this company called, there's a podcast called Foreplay, and it's these
yeah,
guys
oh
who are
yeah,
trying to get better. Okay, yeah, Trent,
yeah,
have you seen Trent trying to do 90, trying to break
oh
90?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
he put it away for a while,
yeah,
and he brought it back out, right? And so
nice,
he's playing like out of his mind, right?
yeah,
And so he doesn't want to know the whole time. So he
right,
gets to the 18th green, the 18th tee box, and all he has to do is par.
yeah,
And he says, let me know." And they're like, "No, you don't want to know." And like, so then he finds out,
yeah,
and he duffs the tee shot like
oh
into the stuff.
yeah,
But you don't understand. Like, everybody was like dejected. But here's what's even worse: they went to a tournament the next week, and all the pros had seen it, and they were
oh
all walking by him, going, "Man, that tee shot on 18, dude." And he's like, "Oh God,
dude,
it is." You know what? It's funny enough, and I've been thinking about this a lot. I think that's a lot why entrepreneurs do it, because if you notice, a lot of entrepreneurs do cycling too.
yeah,
These are sports that can be won. There's always this next like level,
right,
and I find that that mindset stuff, like it is. I mean, I tell everybody, golf is the only sport where you're buying clothes and clubs mid course and
right.
selling them in the same.
Yeah, yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah, so and that's the other side of golf, dude, is like kind of the pageantry about it too. I have an obsession with Jordan golf shoes now. So
Okay.
I'm up to like 10 pairs, which my wife is like, why do you need so many golf shoes? And I number one, I gotta look good when I go out there, because if I look good, I feel good and I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
there you
gonna
go.
play. So yeah, but no, I get you on the entrepreneur aspect. And golf is just because it's such a hard sport. I was looking at like the statistics, and it's like most golfers, I think 80% of golfers are going to be shooting like 90s or above, and then you have maybe like another 15% that'll get in the 80s. And then you have like maybe 5% that will achieve like, scratch golfer status or consistently shooting like in the 70s. And it's just a tough sport if you don't dedicate like enough time to it and really just make it, really your life and just practice all the time. It's really hard because so much of it is muscle memory, and there's some natural athletes out there that I think pick it up like pretty easily, but overall,
Mm-hmm.
something you got to work at for sure.
So I worked at the Hotel Emma when it
Mhm.
opened, and waited on Popovich a lot, and a lot of the
Okay.
coaches and a lot of the players. Like, and he
Yeah.
would be the only one in the. They'd be after a game. Everybody else would leave, and there'd be like a chef and me, and like I would, um, I would wait on him, and I would
Yeah.
listen to him talk, and I would listen to, and I'm not from San Antonio. I'm from Houston as well.
Yeah.
Lived in Austin, but then moved down to San Antonio. For somebody that's not a part of the city, I don't think that it can be understated how much of San Antonio is the Spurs and how much Spurs are the San Antonio.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
and for you to have a job to come out of there, I mean, you just
Yeah.
had to be, because I know it's a top run organization. You just had to
Oh,
be around the most amazing people that feel when they were coming up. Like, I mean,
yeah.
talk about a great position to land.
Yeah, man, to be able to cut your teeth on an account like that, first and foremost, like the Spurs organization is first class, man. And the way they do everything is they do it the right way. And you might not always agree with it, but they're always so dialed in and buttoned up. And so getting to work so closely to an organization like that and see how they do stuff, and to know that they are, kind of a model franchise, at the time, I mean, and still operationally, like we're going through our woes right now in terms of just our overall record. But so getting to work with such a organization like that was huge, right? And then how it trickled into our own organization and how we work through different stuff. But it was awesome because I got to learn how it works at the highest level, you know and
Mm-hmm.
because everything from there has been amazing, but nothing to like the caliber of that type of brand. And so we always had to make sure that we were buttoned up and really triple checking everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot of things, and like little kind of fundamental things, like just attention to detail, and making sure, because number one, you never want to let a client down or present something that's not going to be 100% and mistake free and all that. And so a lot of it was just really making sure we're doing the little stuff right,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else just kind of falling in place. And it was cool because I did, as a reporter, I got to cover the Spurs for like 4 or 5 seasons, I want to say. And what was cool is seeing it from like that side, right? Because working with the PR directors and everything, and then a few years later being able to jump to like the marketing and advertising side. So
Mm-hmm.
that was cool to be able to see it kind of from all angles. And then, most recently, we were real fortunate to work on a project here at Lead Hub with one of our plumbing clients in the Spurs. So we got to go to the arena. We did a whole shoot, a bunch of series of spots, and this particular client is the official partner for the Spurs. So it is a really great opportunity for us just to extend that brand and get in front of such a loyal audience. You mentioned like the Spurs is kind of all we got. So we've tried to get football teams before, baseball, all that. And I think right now we have like an AFL team and stuff like that. But there's really just the Spurs when it comes to like professional sports. And the people of San Antonio are incredible, dude. They are so loyal and die hard. And so that's why everyone's really excited about kind of this next generation with Victor Wembanyama. So it's gonna be good to watch. But yeah, overall, man, the Spurs, they do it right, dude. And to be able to be part of that was very special. And so I'm super fortunate, and always kind of look back to that. And it really has shaped kind of, how I operate today, and how I train our team and mentor and coach them, and let them know, like, hey, it's about kind of doing these little things right, and they all add up kind of to the bigger things, but also holding ourselves to a higher standard, always
Mhm,
trying to raise
mhm,
the bar, because we want to put out work that is the best work. And, I'm a competitive guy. And so we want to put out, work that's going to be better than, our competitors as well. So,
mhm. And I think if you look at marketing and branding overall, like you've entered in a profession that is never going to allow you to sleep on the thing you did yesterday, right?
yeah,
You've entered an arena. If you just, even if you look at 4, 3, 2 years ago to where we are now with AI and everything that's coming, and the bigger tech platforms are changing. So, you know, I find this thing fascinating in life. We kind of put ourselves in a position where growth is not an option sometimes,
yeah.
and getting better is not an option, right? The standards are going to raise. When you start a podcast, people are listening to you, you have things to say. So, do you find that because you're in a space that's always changing and asking a lot out of you, that it's asking you personally to grow and at every turn, uh, along with your career?
Yeah, man. For sure. I think, marketing is like the most beautiful blend of just like creativity and business. And I love both of those things. And I, am always trying to learn, man, and figure out like what's next, what is, happening right now that we need to focus on. And what are the things we don't need to focus on, anymore. And so I love naturally kind of built that way, in the sense that I am always kind of looking ahead at times. And so I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you an example, dude. Right now, I am obsessed with like Generation A, right? The
Okay.
generation before Gen Z, because the things that they're doing, and their trends and stuff like that, they'll ultimately will be the people that we're trying to market to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also are emerging as these child influencers, in some cases. And so I think they could have influence on any sort of buying habits. So it is, a challenge to try to keep up with that, because, with Google, the algorithm's always changing, right? You mentioned AI. There's so much going on with AI right now, and it's like, how do we harness it, as an agency, and just personally, on how to make things, better and more efficient. Because there's one thing about like letting AI kind of do it all for you, which I think is good in some cases. But in other cases, like, it can't do it all for you, right? Nor should it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we still want to have our natural kind of imprint on it as well, and make sure. But that's where it gets scary on some of that stuff, man, because they'll output things through AI, and they think it's like the truth, and this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really encouraged our team to use it more of a tool to kind of get you to where you want to go, and not do it all for you. So I love to use it. So I'm big about like word mapping when it comes to like creative, and trying to figure out taglines and slogans and things like that. And the way you kind of do it is you go through and you find synonyms for like certain words, and try to make connections and all that. Man, and it has like sped up that process for me,
Yeah.
exponentially, because I can tell it one word, and I'm like, give me a list of all the synonyms. And then now I have columns of all these words, and I'm looking to like, make connections. But if I told it to, word map it and do all these things, I'm not confident it would come out to like the same kind of solution that we would arrive to, especially from a creative side. So, but
Wow.
yeah, man.
It's it's funny that you say that. For me personally, like there's a lot of things within my skill set that I don't enjoy doing, and I
Mhm.
think AI has covered the gap on like structuring and formatting and like cleaning stuff up and organizing it.
Yep.
But when it needs that last bit of touch, you know, it's kind of me. If you're asking it to take over your whole operations and process, I think there's going to be a disconnect when it comes to the human form. But if you can use it to enhance the productivity, that's
Yeah.
where I'm using it currently, and I'm sure it'll adapt over time. But that's where I'm using it currently.
Yeah, for sure. And we continue to look to build like tools off of it. And, like custom GPTs have been kind of like the latest thing that we've been on. And
Mm-hmm.
we were able to create our own kind of like Lead Hub intern and train it on all of, Google's best practices from a SEO and visibility standpoint, and plugging in some other platforms like SEMrush, and then putting in our own kind of knowledge base on there has really helped us in certain areas as well. And the beautiful thing too is we have a leadership team that encourages it. I think a lot of people at first were like, "Oh, AI, no, like it's going to take our jobs, and the robots are going to take over, and all this stuff." And I think there is some truth to it. Like any form of technology that comes out. I mean, you just think about the telephone and how it evolved, and the jobs that were had at the beginning, with like actual operators running a switchboard, to then not having to have that at all. I think AI will have a similar type of impact on certain roles, but I
Sure.
think there's some things that are just not going to be able to be replaced overall. So yeah.
I love it. All right, we're gonna play a little role play. So I own Lenny's Plumbing Company.
Yeah.
All right, I've been around for 15 years. We got a website. Haven't touched it in a while. I'm looking for leads. I'm so confused. I don't even know where to start. But your advice to me, for anybody that's listening, what are the steps if you wanted to start marketing and branding and working towards building up a more digital presence for a company?
Yeah. So you cut out there a little bit. You said you were needing a new website as part of your
No,
company.
yeah, like all we have is a website. We don't really
Got you.
do anything
Okay.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, so number one, I think it starts with just research, right? Like researching the own brand and doing like a discovery into kind of more of who you are and what your goals are. So I would open up and just ask you, what are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? Where are you currently at?
Mhm.
Then do market research, really understand like the competitors and everything, just to make sure your expectations align with kind of what it looks like out there in the market. And then, once we've established all that and we understand kind of, what your focus is. So let's just say, you are wanting to, just build the brand overall and really focus on some lead generation, right? So if those are kind of our two main goals, build the brand, lead generation, number one, how do you build a brand? Well, number one, you got to make sure you have a strong brand to start with. So what's your visual identity, look like, right? What does, your identity look like from a written standpoint? Right. And really let's hone in on those, make sure that we establish that, because that's going to be the foundation for everything on no matter what we
Mhm.
do across the board. And that will also run over into your own culture and how you like lead your team, and, what you tell them about the brand, because they're ultimately going to be representatives, out in the field and customer facing. So that's super, important on the brand side. And then understanding from a brand awareness standpoint, what are some tactics that we're going to do to, number one, kind of, launch this brand and make sure people know about you, because what we want to essentially create is top of mind awareness. So, because plumbing is a lot of times a demand service. Like you don't know you need it till you need it, right? Like for instance, right
Mhm.
now I had a client up in Spokane, Washington. All of the pipes up there are frozen, so they got 200
Sure.
calls on Saturday and Sunday. And so that is something else you got to kind of take into account. But going back to just kind of the branding overall is just really looking at, okay, we've created this beautiful brand, we've created an identity. Now how do we kind of message that to folks? So that's going to be super important. The lead generation side, again, everybody can get involved in lead generation in some form or fashion with certain budgets. And so we need to look kind of competition wise there, and come up with a marketing plan that's going to be balanced, so we have an equal amount of kind of that top of the funnel awareness from, a branding standpoint, and then how do we focus in on some of these lower funnel tactics, like a Google Ads or an Angie's or something like that, and create like a really, robust plan, and really plan it out, like looking at it from an annual perspective. Okay, these are the dollars we're going to commit to. This is the plan that we're going to stick with, and we're going to write it out, because the lead generation stuff is the stuff that happens like immediately, right? But what takes time is the traditional side, and kind of building all that up. So to summarize it all, it really comes down to just researching, making sure we understand you as a brand and what you want to accomplish in the market that we're entering, and then really looking at a marketing plan that will kind of support those efforts. And then the other kind of side of it that I always like to just make, owners aware of, at least, is that, two other metrics that we really like to look at is going to be, your call booking rate and your job booking rate. Because ultimately, as an agency, our job is going to be to get you these at bats, these phone calls, these form leads. But it comes back to your team to, actually book those calls, and for your sales guys to actually sell those jobs. And so it's important for us to make sure we have a mechanism to kind of gauge that, in order to know if we're being successful in getting you like the types of calls you need, and that sort of stuff. So I would say that would be kind of the initial approach, and obviously there's more nuance to it and things like that, but we really got to just hit the ground with research to kind of really make sure that we're informed on exactly how to attack your specific market. So
And I think what the most important thing is right out of the gate, you asked me what my needs were, what
yep.
I wanted to see, right? And that's so important, is because you're not trying to sell me anything, you're trying to offer me a chance to grow my business as a partner. And
Yep.
I think that's where a lot of people get it twisted. And that's why it's so exciting that that's what you led with, because that's what you live by, right? And I think
Yep.
that's really important to highlight. I never want to treat anybody as if they're my vendor. I only want to treat them as if they're my partner. And when you're a
Hmm.
partner, then we grow together. And that was the
Yep.
first thing you said right off the bat. And that's why it's so important. It was a great breakdown of exactly what they want to do. And the reason I wanted you to say that is because I equate marketing to, like, should you eat eggs? And what I mean by that is we don't know what we should eat, eggs or bacon, anymore. We don't know what we should eat anymore. We don't know what has gluten in it. We don't. That's marketing. Marketing
Yep.
has created this kind of thing where we don't even know it's this thing, or you should be doing this, or you're selling this program. And when you reach with somebody that really has your best interest in mind, then you're reaching for somebody that you can be in business with for a long time. That's going to steward your company, and I say that word on purpose, going to steward the look and brand and feel and reputation of your company the same way you would as a business owner. And that's why it's so
Yep.
important to pick the right person that you're marketing and branding with.
Yeah, for sure. I think too many people try to prescribe you what they think you need to do. And don't get me wrong, we're the experts and we'll eventually kind of get there, but we need to understand like what you want to do, and because sometimes it's not realistic. And, I'm always big on setting expectations and making sure that we're on the same page. Because what I've learned is if you're not on the same page on expectations and your scoreboards don't align, eventually, when things aren't going well, that's when like serious conversations will have to be had. And if you don't have anything to kind of fall back on from an expectation standpoint, it's really difficult to understand like what was the goal, to start with. And sometimes we just get so caught up in, either wanting to help or closing a deal or whatever, that a lot of people kind of, skip through that. And I don't know about you, but when a salesperson starts telling me like what I need to do, as opposed to asking me what I want to do, it's just a whole different, feel. When you're asking somebody, it feels like you said, like a partnership. The other way, it just feels more like, okay, I'm taking, orders from this person, in a sense. And so we never want to, go that route. And like I said, eventually we'll get to a point where we are really able to, show you our expertise and really be able to build trust, because there'll be moments where we have to push back and say, hey, I don't really agree, with what you're thinking about doing here. And these are some reasons why. And we always want to support our clients in like special projects and things they want to do, but sometimes it's not the right time or not in their best interest, and it's difficult to have to tell somebody that at times. So
Totally. Well, Dennis, it's been such a pleasure. It's so great to have you on and chat with you and get to hear your story and what you think about marketing and all the stuff that you enjoy. If people want to reach out to you, they want to have a conversation with you, how would they do that?
yeah, man, anybody can reach out to me at dennis@leadhub.net. Just shoot me an email, and I will be happy to reply and chat with you about anything that was discussed here on the podcast, or any other questions just in general. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. Guys, send this to a friend, somebody that'll get some value. Rate us and review us, and we'll see you next time. Folks, if you made it to the end of the episode, I'm sure you found some value with what you're listening to. If you could send this to a friend, rate us and review us, share us around. The more that you share us, the more that we can share content with you. Thank y'all so much for your time and listening, and we'll see you next time.